Happy New Year, and thank you for joining us on TVC News at 1. President Bola Tinubu has wished Nigerians a prosperous new year, filled with joy, success, and good health, where collective desires will be fulfilled. The president, in his New Year message, promised massive food production and his resoluteness to reduce inflation from its current high of 34.6% to 15%. The federal government said the move will also promote local manufacturing of essential drugs and other medical supplies in the new year. According to the president, the new company, expected to begin operations before the end of the second quarter of the new year, is a partnership of government institutions, including the Bank of Industry, Nigerian Consumer Credit Corporation, the Nigerian Sovereign Investment Agency, the Ministry of Finance Incorporated, the private sector, and multilateral institutions. President Tinubu assures Nigerians their sacrifices in the last 19 months will not be in vain, and that the youth conference will begin in the first quarter. Many hopes, aspirations, and prospects for better days. Now, let's talk some more about the president's New Year message and some of the ambitions which he's reeled out there. Joining me for more is a former executive chairman of Karo Local Government Council of Nasarawa State, Akala Gajere. Good to have you join us, and Happy New Year to you, Mr. Gajere. You know, in that president's New Year message, he reeled out quite a number of ambitious targets. For instance, achieving a $1 trillion economy, and of course also plans to not just have, but reduce drastically the inflation figures from 34.6% to 15%. How realistic are these, and how much do you see Nigerians key into these targets?
Well, thank you very much. It's my pleasure to join you this new day of the new year, and Happy New Year to you and your team as well. For me, it's an ambitious projections, and the year 2024 has been very tough, has been turbulent. But as an individual, I believe that the government was able to weather the storm. Nigerians too are able to weather the storm. We must give it to Nigerians. They have actually truly been patient with the government, and they've been able to make tremendous amount of sacrifices in the year 2024. But of course, what looks promising to me is the fact that the president has been consistent in what he believes is the pathway to recovery, in what he believes is the pathway to the collective development of our nation, ranging from the court verdict on local government administration that we believe would stimulate local economy at the local level. And of course, the ambitious 2025 appropriation bill that was laid before the National Assembly. And to achieve the projections that were made by Mr. President in his message to Nigerians, I believe that to grow, to improve on local production is the foundation upon which most of these things will be achieved.
All right.
We have just seen that about 3 refineries have been working. And for me, it looks like there are some level of sabotage in the system until Dangote refinery come off stream. That is when the Nigerian refinery, the NNPCL refineries began to peak. So for me, there are 2 things that I would say that the government must pay rapt attention to. One, they must be able to tackle the issues of oil theft and ensure that we increase the production of crude to be able to feed these refineries. And 3, of course, in the president's appropriation bill to the National Assembly, we have seen that security took the largest percentage of that appropriation bill. I believe that if the president is able to show more strong political will in fighting insecurity, it will improve agricultural production, it will improve local production, and that will show up. And of course, inflation will, of course, he will be able to achieve his projection as far as inflationary rates are concerned.
I hear you, Mr. Gajere. Another thing that the president spoke about in his New Year message is a national youth confab, which he says will begin in the first quarter of this year that we're in. And, he mentioned that modalities for selecting the conference's representatives would soon be announced. How significant do you consider this to be, especially in achieving national growth and development?
I believe youth inclusion in governance is key as far as I'm concerned. As a young man that I am, I believe that we have a lot of young persons who have a lot to add to our system. So I believe that this conference is significant to the collective development and growth of our nation. There are young persons, you know that if you hear that there are crises anywhere in our country, when you dig deep into it, you'll find out that young persons are involved. So for the president to say, look, let's create a platform where young persons will ventilate their issues and see how they can come up with a way forward for the young persons and the entire nation, for me, is a welcome development. I hope that this election will be apolitical. It will not be based on the officials of government will start to generate names of persons who are of the APC extraction. The president has shown that he's a president for Nigerians. I believe that even in this selection, the government will be able to ensure that people who have been able to hold dissenting voice about government, young persons all over the country, will be included in this conversation. And I hope that young persons also take advantage of this conversation to be able to come up with more strategic ways where we'll be able to have a way forward for our nation.
All right, let's look at another, point that he made there. He made a case for patriotism among citizens. Why do you think that some Nigerians are unpatriotic as it is? And what to take about the president's plan to unveil the National Values Charter?
I believe that Nigerians have been patriotic. It's just that there are few who seem not to really understand that it is now time for governance. Politics is gone, so it is governance time. I believe that there is no government that can succeed without opposition. So as far as we are concerned, our patriotism is not to Mr. President, our patriotism is to the nation. So Nigerians must understand that it is about the collective interest of Nigerians and not Mr. Tinubu. So Nigerians must be able to come together to ensure that, of course, we galvanize every human and material resources together to ensure that we support Mr. President and, of course, ensure that we work with the president even in the new charter.
All right, and it's a good way to leave the conversation. Former Executive Chairman, Karo Local Government Council of Nasarawa State, Akala Same Gajere, thank you so much for your time on TVC News at 1.
Thank you, it's my pleasure.
And more messages.